Top 15 Kills by Michael Myers. The Butcher of Haddonfield. Michael Myers is clearly the poster boy of all slasher films. An eponymous serial killer obsessed with killing people. Michael's journey started when he was just 6 years old, when he killed his sister, Judith, and since then, there was no stopping him. The little boy earned a name for himself and has starred in several films that have been rebooted several times. Although John Carpenter introduced Michael as a simple and silent man who loved killing babysitters, Michael has evolved over the years to become more artistic and creative with his kills. And let's face it, if the franchise is still alive after more than 40 years since its debut in 1978, the only reason behind it is that people love watching Michael kill. So, in this video, we bring you top 15 kills of Michael Myers. Have fun! Before we go into our explanation, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel. This is a small click for you, but for us, it means a lot. Thank you. Let's begin. 1. Judith Myers, stabbed 9 times in the chest. The kill that started it all. Halloween, 1978. Judith Myers was Michael's elder sister. Being 10 years older, she was already reaching her prime when Michael was just about 6. But even as a child, Michael had started showing troubling behavior, such as killing rabbits and staring at his sister. In October of 1963, Judith invited her boyfriend over because her parents were out for the evening. The two of them had the house to themselves. The young couple started kissing on the ground floor, but upon Daniel's suggestion, they took the party upstairs to Judith's bedroom. It wasn't before long that Daniel left Judith, promising her that he'd call her the next day, and Judith sat in front of the vanity, singing, brushing her hair. Michael had been keeping an eye on the entire sequence of events. He grabbed a kitchen knife from one of the drawers and stealthily moved upstairs to Judith, who was topless. Startled by her brother, she screamed his name, which was when Michael stabbed his sister 9 times, making her the first ever victim of the Butcher of Haddonfield.
Hello?
2. Linda Vanderklock, strangled to death by a telephone cord. Halloween, 1978. Linda Vanderklock was more of an outgoing girl who didn't know how to keep her voice down. The first time that Michael returned to Haddonfield, he started stalking Linda and her friends Lori and Annie. Linda had planned to make love with her boyfriend, Bob Sims, at the Wallace house, where Annie was supposed to babysit the Wallace kid. Linda clearly wanted to take advantage of the situation, but she got way more than what she bargained for. Michael kills Bob and takes his glasses before going to Linda, where he disguises himself as a ghost by putting a sheet over his head. Linda is certain that it was Bob and flashes herself once before calling Lori to ask about Annie and Paul's whereabouts. However, Michael approaches Linda and strangles her with the phone cord while she was still on a call with Lori, who could hear everything. Later, Linda's body is discovered by Lori. 3. Karen Bailey, head burned in a 200-degree temp hot tub, then drowned. Halloween 2, 1981. Karen Bailey was the nurse at Haddonfield Memorial Hospital and was on duty the night Sam Loomis shot Michael, who disappeared from the scene after falling from the 2nd story. Meanwhile, Karen reached the hospital much after her shift was supposed to start, only to be rebuked by another hospital staff. It's often said that office romances never last, but with Karen, the saying took some really nasty turns. She and her boyfriend Bud go to the hospital's hydrotherapy tub to have a good time, but Karen kept complaining that the water was too hot. Bud, who didn't want to miss his chance, left to get the water temperature down, but never returned. Karen then got out of the tub, wore her towel, but felt a hand on her shoulder. She initially thought that it was Bud, but it wasn't before long that she realized it was Michael who had come for her. Michael had increased the temperature of the tub to near boiling temperatures and dunked her head several times to not just drown her, but also burn her in the process. That's a terrible way to die. 4. Alice Martin, stabbed in the chest with a kitchen knife. Halloween 2, 1981. Alice Martin was another teen victim of the Butcher of Haddonfield. Alice's parents were not home that night, and she had no idea about the 3 teens who were killed by an unknown assailant, whom the cops had failed to capture. She was on a call with one of her friends when she heard a woman screaming from another house. When she went out to check, She heard no responses and assumed that it was a case of domestic violence. Upon returning to the call, Alice's friend told her about the prior killings. She then heard a noise coming from behind her. She went to check on the noise, startled and scared, only to be stabbed multiple times by Michael, who had stolen a kitchen knife from the spot of his previous kill. 5. Bucky. Thrown on the transformer, electrocuted. Halloween 4. The return of Michael Myers. 1988. Bucky was a technician at the Haddonfield power plant. He was working his usual shift on Halloween night in the year 1988 when he encountered a dangerous masked man, aka Michael Myers. Bucky had no idea who he was dealing with and warned Michael about trespassing on government property. But Michael was Michael. Where he stood was his property, and whoever he met was his possible victim. Realizing that something was up when the trespasser wouldn't leave the premises, Bucky turned around to call the cops, but his fate had already been sealed in Michael's mind. Michael picked up the poor, unfortunate soul and threw him on the live transformer. Bucky got electrocuted to death, and the resultant electrical failure led to a major blackout. Six. Mike, stabbed in the forehead with a garden claw. Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. 1989. Mike was a person who always tried to keep his tough guy image up to the mark. All he ever cared about was his looks, his car, and himself. But being a tough guy doesn't mean you got a big fat wallet. So Mike planned with his friend Spitz to steal 3 crates of beer from the store that Spitz worked in. Mike pulled up in his car behind the front where Spitz was to bring the beer. But while cleaning his newly polished car, Mike saw a man scratching his car with a garden claw. Naturally, Mike was enraged and went to confront the man. But being a tough guy and having muscles are 2 different things. The man scratching Mike's car was Michael Myers, who impaled Mike's head with the same garden claw he had used to screw Mike's car. Michael later carried Mike's body to his old home and placed it in the attic.
You son of a bitch!
7. Samantha Thomas and Spitz. Chest sliced with a scythe. Halloween 5, The Revenge of Michael Myers. 1989. Among all the entries yet, Samantha and Spitz's murder was probably the most disheartening for the sheer reason that they got killed when they were in an act that brings life into the world. Well, the short version is that they were doing it. So, Samantha and Spitz had found themselves a nice barn, but Michael crashed the party when he impaled Spitz with a pitchfork while he was on top of Samantha. She managed to push Spitz's body away and grabbed the pitchfork to attack Michael, but of course to no avail. Michael then sliced poor Samantha's chest with a scythe. 8. Nurse Mary. Head impaled on a wall spike. Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. 1995. Mary was the midwife when Jamie Lloyd delivered her baby. She was forced to give the baby away to Terrence Wynn, but later retrieved it from him and gave it to Jamie so that she could escape. After this, Mary ran away from the scene to avoid suspicion, but was caught by Michael. He grabbed the nurse and impaled her on a metal spike on the wall behind her. Mary's death is one of those that really hurt you from within. She had a strong personality who could differentiate between the good and the bad, and seeing her go in such a painful and disrespectful manner was terrible. However, the next entry is somewhat redeeming. 9. John Strode. Pinned to the fuse box. Head explodes due to electrocution. Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers. 1995. So, John Strode was married to Deborah Strode, but he was the curse of the Strode family. He was a wife beater who had no love for even his children. John had bought the Michael Myers house at a throwaway price because it was proving to be unsellable. When his wife learned about the history of the house, she expressed her wishes to move out of the house. One evening, John returned home to find the house empty of its occupants. Agitated that his wife had left him, he sat down to drink, but the power went off. When he went to fix the power, he noticed that water was overflowing from the washing machine. Upon further inspection, he discovered a blood-stained bedsheet. Startled, he ran away, but unfortunately bumped into Michael Myers, who stabbed John in his stomach with a kitchen knife before pinning him on a fuse box. The serious amount of electricity flowing into John's body led to his electrocution, but it was so bad that John's head exploded, like literally.
Jimmy been suspended 5 times this year already for getting a little crazy with the skate, alright?
10. Jimmy Howell. Ice skate embedded in the face. Halloween H2O. 20 years later, 1998. Michael Myers spared no one, not even Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who played young Jimmy Howell. So, Jimmy was a bit of a troublemaker, but never meant any harm to anyone. When he discovered that the house of his neighbor, Marion Whittington, had been broken into, he was quick enough to call the cops, who told him that they would take 15 minutes to arrive. Jimmy realized that stealing a couple of beers wouldn't be so wrong since the house was already vandalized. So, he took the beers and went to his home to have them with his friend Tony. However, this time around, Michael had followed Jimmy. He killed the boy by impaling his face with an ice skate. 11. Gary Scott. Decapitated with a glass shard. Halloween 2, 2009. Gary Scott was the coroner who was called to take away the body of an apparently deceased Michael Myers. Scott was an extremely lewd and sick person who fantasized about necrophilia. And on top of that, he would share these feelings with other coworkers. For instance, Alan Hooks, the guy who was driving the ambulance that night. Being distracted by the conversation, Hooks rammed the ambulance into a cow and was killed immediately, while Scott was alive with multiple injuries. The impact from the collision woke Michael up, who was only unconscious. Michael then found Scott and decapitated his head with a shard of glass. Please, somebody, please help me. 12. Oscar. Stabbed in the back, head impaled on a gate spike. Halloween 2018. With the 2018 film Halloween, we are back to the canon films, and Oscar's death was a major spectacle of the gruesome things Michael Myers can do. Oscar was best friends with Cameron Elam and his love interest, Allison Nelson, Laurie Strode's granddaughter. When Cameron drank too much and kissed another girl at a party, Oscar offered to walk her home. Where he tried to kiss her, Allison left angry, and Oscar found himself sitting on the ground. It was now that Michael presented himself. Oscar initially thought it was someone else and apologized for being on their property, but he soon realized it was Michael. Michael then stabbed Oscar in the back and impaled his head on one of the spikes of a fence. 13. Big John, stabbed in the armpit and eyes gouged out. Halloween Kills, 2021. Two husbands, Big John and Little John, had moved into the old Myers house despite knowing the bloody history of the house. On Halloween night, they scared off many kids who had come trick-or-treating. In one of the instances, the two husbands were out, and Michael snuck inside his old house when nobody was looking. When Big John went investigating, he found that someone was in the house. In the end, Michael stabs him in his armpit, but to make things worse, he gouged Big John's eyes out. At the end, when Allison reaches the house with Elam, we see that Michael had placed the bodies of Big John and Little John in a rather romantic position. It's strange how Michael is getting creative with his kills. 14. Cameron Elam, stabbed twice in the stomach and neck broken. Halloween Kills, 2021. Cameron and Allison had come to the old Myers house after deducing that's where he was headed. Allison was armed with a shotgun and a knife, and Cameron had a pistol with himself. They split up to find him after discovering the corpses of the Johns. However, Michael surprised Cameron and stabbed him twice in the stomach with a kitchen knife. Allison came to his rescue, but Michael slammed her head on the guardrail of the staircase before throwing her down. Meanwhile, Cameron removed the knife from his chest and tried to shoot Michael, but Michael grabbed the young boy and struck his head against the guardrails so that it broke the wood. He went on to slam Cameron's head along the wooden railings in a brutal fashion, but by now, Allison was trying to deviate Michael from Cameron by challenging him. It seemed to have worked, and Michael started to walk down the stairs toward Allison. But as he reached Cameron's protruded head, he held it with both hands and twisted it, breaking Cameron's neck and ending his miseries once and for all. 15. Sondra Dickerson, stabbed in the neck with a light fixture. Halloween Kills, 2021. Before moving in to kill the Johns, Michael had been to the Dickersons. They were an elderly couple who lived a happy life. Michael entered their house and attacked Mr. Dickerson when he tried to warn Sondra to escape, but Sondra went into a state of panic and failed to open the door. Although she grabbed a kitchen knife to defend herself, Michael got her by stabbing her neck with a light fixture that went right through her neck. The impact didn't immediately kill her, and she was forced to watch Michael stab her husband multiple times with the kitchen knife. So, that was the list of the top 15 kills of Michael Myers. You may want to check out other videos on the Halloween franchise and Michael Myers, including a deep dive analysis on the question of whether Michael is a supernatural entity or immortal. We'll leave the link in the description for you. And if you liked our content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to us if you haven't already. Have a good one and be safe. Thanks everyone.